episode 2. I got 3 questions ready. Get into them. The first one, this post about it was from someone talking about how they got a job interview and they accepted this job offer, and now they've realized that this is not the job for them almost immediately, and they want to quit right away, and they're worried about being blackballed in the law kind of industry, the legal field. And this is the first job straight out of law school. It's rare that people stay in this firm anyways for more than 6 months. What to do? Is it okay to quit after one day? Brandon, your take?
If you on day one you feel all that, you should not be there, in my opinion. Like, looking at the average time that they have for retention, that's a bad sign already. Like, this is why they say you're working for a company, you should keep in mind who you're working for and all these different things, because 6 months is a very short time to have to be constantly chucking out people, like hiring and then firing people or quitting, whatever the case is. But I totally think it's fine to quit after one day. And that's a concern too, is being when you're in the legal industry, because as much as it's a big industry, it's also a very tight-knit community in the area you're in. Where I live, you can be blackballed. I quit my last job. I literally wrote a resignation after work and then sent it, and I never went back. I literally quit on the day of and never went back. And I was very tired. I was very, there's a lot of reasons why I did that. But I can say that I don't badmouth them ever, because I have no reason to, because I did learn a lot there. It was a great opportunity. Our interests just diverged, and we had differences of opinions, and I saw it in my best interest and their best interest, because I don't want to be at a job either where I'm collecting a paycheck and I don't feel like I'm doing my work to the best of my ability. As an employee, I wanted to provide the best to myself, and if I wasn't fit for that company, I wasn't providing my best self, then I don't want to be there, because, that's what it comes down to too. I can say, though, that I know for a fact they have never badmouthed me either, which has been great, because like I said, I don't do that to them. In fact, I referred clients to them even after leaving, because they're great attorneys. I would definitely refer people over, and one of the attorneys, the partners there, has sent me stuff on family law to learn, like for events and stuff like that. So I appreciate that too. But like I said, if you know from day one, I mean, mind you, this was after 3 years though. This wasn't day one. So after 3 years, I felt that way. But if at day one you're feeling that, you should just.
Yeah, right. It's a bad situation. What do you think about blackballing? Do you think there is such a thing? And how small is the legal world where you're at? Here, Orange County, where I'm at, it's pretty small. I think people keep on seeing that. I hear all the time about law students seeing each other. It's a little bit differentiated, like in terms of field of practice. Like if you're in workers' comp, which it seems like a lot of my friends are, they never see, the criminal law people. How about where you're at?
I think where I'm at, it's definitely very, very small too. And even people who don't normally do a certain type of practice are still aware of other attorneys. So, like for example, when I worked at the law firm I worked at, they were very much aware of the attorney who was my family law attorney. They knew her reputation in the community, and she has a phenomenal reputation, and I love her dearly. But, people here know each other, so you can get a reputation for being a horrible attorney very easily, and then it sticks with you too, though. So, and there's a thing, like I said, it's not about making mistakes. People make mistakes. Like, I've never heard someone refer to another attorney because they made a mistake. Like, oh, they filed this wrong, or they did this wrong. It's more when you're doing things like, oh, unethical, you're stealing from the client trust fund account. Like, I've heard about things like that, and I hear like, oh, they just take their client's money and just do the least amount of work possible.
Right.
And if you're billing $350 an hour, do your job. Do your job. Right. But yeah, blackballing does affect you, because, and it's not even in the sense that I think it's typical blackballing, like you're never going to work in this industry again. I think it's in the sense that people talk and you burn your bridge and no one's going to hire you. If you want to go work with a firm and partner A at that firm knows, partner B at the other firm where you worked at, and partner B is like, my associate just quit and he wasn't that great, and just kind of like saying like, yeah, he told me to F myself. He may not even like say your name, but then when partner A goes and sees that, wait a minute, you worked at this firm and my friend works there and he told him to go F himself.
Right.
Yeah, like,
that's a little bit of a
yeah, like it's very indirect. It's not that partner B's intention was to blackball him, but the community's talking, and ta-da, you blackball yourself.
Right.
So
I got a kind of more on point question, I think. What do you think if somebody wanted to work at Accord Law right now and they said, "Hey, Brandon," or they applied and you you found out, because I think they shouldn't even list that they worked somewhere for one day. But let's say you found out, I don't know, through some references or like the small legal world, this person only worked there for a day. What would you think of that? You'd ask them in the interview, right?
Yeah, I definitely would ask them. I used to do interviews for my family, so I'd always ask all kinds of questions. I would definitely ask them, but I will also keep in mind too the reputation of the firm itself. Because, like I said, if people say that they stay at that firm for less than 6 months, it's probably known in that community. I would ask them candidly, like, what happened, and I would say, now I'd be very cautious too about what they say, because if they start bad mouthing them, like just going off the rails, that draws concerns to me too. But if they just tell me things like, I was not a fit for that company, their expectations were not reasonable, like they expected to pay me $15 an hour as an attorney, but work 15 hours a day. Just that's obviously an extreme, but I'm like, if that's what they told me, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's fair. Like I wouldn't want to work there either. Like
Right. So
so
just being honest about
yeah.
it and really just saying the story of what happened.
Yeah, I think
Right.
that's your best bet like that, because the reality is too is like, so this is the thing about being humans and the reality of life. It was day one, and he goes there and he's there for two. I'm gonna assume it's a he. Let's just say it's a he, because it's easier to say he or she or they, whatever.
Right.
If he goes there and he gets a call from his wife, hey, I can't leave work, but our daughter's sick. I need you to go. It's his first day, and he says, look, I need to go. I understand it's my first day. And they're like, well, either you go get your daughter, you can't come back ever again. I personally be like, all right, I'll see you guys later. And I would go get my daughter.
Right.
And I can't blame him for that. So if someone told me, like, look, this is what happened that day, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I would have done the same thing. And then it goes back to the firm. Well, why weren't you guys willing to let him go when his daughter was sick? Like, what's your culture there? And is that a culture that anybody wants to work in? It all comes down to the facts. And I think, like I said, I think he said he's having panic attacks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad sign. That's a bad. You should
Yeah.
definitely not be there.
Because it's not good for anyone if you're about to have a meltdown as an employee.
No.
Yeah, it's just good to be honest and upfront about it and part ways. Apologize, of course, because there has been some time wasted, on the employer's part, bringing you in and whatever. There's been some opportunity costs there, but
That's the risk of business, though.
right. I think blackballing isn't it one thing where you can just get someone out of the legal business. Okay, so the next question here is an article from November 4th from Above the Law that New York had some kind of mental health question on their application to become barred in New York. I actually talked about USC in your last episodes, and they've had LA Times, a lot of outlets are reporting this week that they've had the population of USC's like currently 45,000 students. They've had 9 student deaths since August. And I saw, and this is related, I saw this Reddit headline that said something like the top causes of millennial death is suicide. So do you have any take on that, Brandon, on what's going on in mental health nowadays, and how it affects millennials in general? One other thing I just recall is that there was a kid in Santa Ana, I believe. She committed suicide. Can you believe that? 10 years old. It was
I think it was 10.
Yeah, it was some insane young age. And I know this is another topic that's near and dear to your heart. I know you did some stuff 6 months ago. You went up to Sacramento, like advocating for mental health issues, encouraging those to get help.
Right. Actually, I went with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention to help advocate for passing some legislation. And for the most part, I would say it was very, very positive from the people in this, in our state legislature. But there was a little bit of pushback at times. But I would say it was definitely like if I met with 15 people that day, 14 were great. And it felt very authentic. It was nothing good about that. So as far as mental health, in the legal field, we have the highest rate of substance abuse out of any profession. So that alone is, and it kind of comes down to the demands of our profession. And then what happens, I think, too, is that, just to touch on a different subject real fast, think about it in terms of how lawyers operate. Clients call and text us whenever they feel like it. That's true. Whether we choose to respond is one thing, but I would never text my doctor at 10 o'clock at night, hey, you know what, I have a pain in the back of my neck, like, you know what that is? But clients will text me, hey, you know what, my ex-husband just said this to me, like,
Right.
and there's a lack of boundaries from clients too. But it's like, I think that aids in that. But mental health issues, 1 in 5 Americans are affected by it, and I think it's very, very troubling to ask it on a bar application, because, and I can't remember now if California asks it at all. I don't think they do. I don't remember. But the reality is that we all struggle with something at one point in our life. And I think it's unfair to, if someone says, like, I don't know what it's asking, it's like, oh, were you ever an antidepressant? It's like, what does that matter if I'm
Right.
practicing law? That, I get it. Like, if I had, because we don't ask someone, did you have cancer at one point in your life? Like, you wouldn't ask that on a bar application. Why are you going to ask them about mental health issues? Why are you going to ask them about depression, bipolar disorder? Like, why are you going to ask about any of those? And
Right.
there's still this stigma around mental illness. One of the things about myself, and I'm very open about it, is when I was 21, I spent 6 weeks in receiving counseling through inpatient and outpatient treatments. It was helpful, like I there was a reason for it. It wasn't suicidal or anything like that, but I had some difficulties, and I was in the army, and the army's like, yeah, this is probably the best idea. So,
Right.
I've also learned that the army, from my experiences, was that, hey, you have a drinking problem, inpatient. So they
Right.
they send everybody inpatient kind of thing.
Right.
And I've been on antidepressants in my adult years. I've been on antidepressants when I was in law school. Those are my experiences. Now, do I need antidepressants for the rest of my life? Probably not. Well, could I? I'll find out eventually if I do. It's this thing, though, is that people, if we're going to impose these questions on people and ask them, they're not going to answer properly, and they're not going to seek the treatment they need. They're not going to seek the help they need. Severe mental illnesses can show up in their late 20s. And most people are either getting into their careers, starting their careers then, may have been there for a short time, or like in my case, I got out of law school at 29. People have these experiences. So if I'm feeling symptoms of something, and I'm not sure what it is, but I'm afraid that I won't get licensed because of it, most people wouldn't seek help. Personally, I don't care. I would seek help. But that's just me, though. Not everyone's me. So it's almost like this thing, like, if we're imposing these questions, people are not going to get the help they need. We have to get to a point where we treat it like anything else. And we're not there yet. People don't get the treatment they need. And here's a prime example of my own life. Someone very close to me, unfortunately, she needs antidepressants. She has major depressive disorder. She doesn't have insurance, so she got Medi-Cal. She had to wait 6 months to see a psychiatrist to get medication.
Right.
What's that 6-month time frame to stop? Thank God nothing happened because she was getting regular therapy, Riverside County. But what's to stop someone from that point who needs treatment? They can't even get access to the medical care they need. But that's because we don't put an emphasis on it. We don't. So, reality is, when it comes down to mental health, is that whether you're a law student, whether you're a practicing attorney, whether you're a professional, whether you're a teenager, if you feel something, say something. And it comes down to that, because it could be situational. It can be a condition. There's so many different things. But even if it's situational, and 3 months of medication, 6 months of medication is going to help get you back to the place where you need to be, you may never touch it again. But it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Or you could have major depressive disorder, and that could be your life. But if you're actively working to make it better and control it, and to feel and make your life better, then so what? That's only, what does they say? The part is not the whole. That's just one aspect of it. I think I'm very happy to hear they're removing it. Like I said, I can't remember if California does it, but if they do, they should remove it too, because that's part of the stigma. People aren't going to answer questions and do what they need to do if they're feeling that it's going to create the stigma around them. I mean, honestly, are they going to deny someone's license because they are on antidepressants, or because they have they have bipolar disorder?
Right.
And if they do, I would love to see an 88. I would love to see an 88 lawsuit over that. That'd be interesting.
Okay. Thanks, Brendan. Next question is not a question, but it's actually a text I got from you like a couple days ago, and I thought the best way to talk about it is on the podcast. So I think I'm always kind of telling you how I want to get on yours and Brianna's level in terms of focus, in focusing down on things you need to do. And this Ivy Lee method, like, you got somewhere, and it sounded exactly what I had did. So I remember now exactly when you sent it to me, because it was Monday. because
Yeah.
that is my time to think of what I need done. And then at that time, I prioritize. And the one thing that I had was I got to get this first episode done. And then next, build more questions into the app to make it better. And then in there, I was like, okay, after I do the Bar Exam Drills podcast, I have to start working on the Accord Law podcast. And so you send me this on Monday, and it's exactly what I did the day before. But why you sent it to me, right, Brandon?
Yeah.
Because I'm always like saying I got to get more focused. I got to get,
And for me too. I mean, like, I'm always trying to improve. What can I make better? What can I do for myself? Because there's always so much to do that we think we need to do, but we really don't need to do it. And that's the thing, though. Is like there's always. I mean, like we could literally. I got to do this today, but do you really need to? I mean, was it really?
Right, and that because I knew I wanted to work on more questions for the app. But if no one's going to use the app because they don't know about it, right? Because this podcast isn't out, this podcast episode, then there's no point in doing more questions into the app.
Right.
Right. So you really got to think about what's really important and then do it.
No, definitely.
Like the Ivy Lee method.
I read it from an article and it was just really, really good. Actually, I'll send you the article. I don't know if I sent you the article exactly, but it's just a process. Life is a process. Getting through it. Have you read the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People?
No, I haven't.
I would recommend reading that book. It is a phenomenal book. I need to reread it just because it's good to reread it again and again. What he says is we make checklists, and that's great, but we don't really set timelines for these checklists. Like, you could put a checklist of 100 different things, but I mean, you're looking through a checklist of 100 different things. How do you determine which is priority? So he has a different method of like puts things in quadrants, like 4 different quadrants, and get into it and break it down. But needs to say though, he says what's really do we need to do? What's urgent? What can be done later? What really don't you need to do, and what can you delegate? I'm saying the top 2 properly, but because it comes down to like sometimes we think we have to do this, but do I really need to? Right. Like it's on our list of things to do, but is it really something we need to do, or are we just making that for ourselves? And that's what it comes to prioritizing. Like that's what he says: pick these 6 items, and which one do you need to do? Like right. Today, my first item was this, and then after this, it's a motion to suppress evidence.
All right.
Like that'll probably be the only 2 things I get done today, but that's it. That's right. My list.
This totally has to do with bar prep. This is why I brought it up, is
right.
You have all this stuff you want to do in bar prep, but you really got to laser focus in on what's important. I have that Jason Calacanis video. Focus in on what's important, what you're going to, you got to do essays. You got to do a bazillion MBEs. But what is that exact thing you need to do that you could put the time limit on and you can accomplish, right?
Right.
So
when it comes to bar prepping, it's got to be a laser focus. Because I think we touched on this last time. I said, if you have 8 hours, but you're only studying for 3, you might as well have just studied for the 3. Like, instead of spending your day wasting it. And so that's what it comes down to. On a bar prep, the 6 most important things was, might be, my goal today is first to do 100 MBEs. I'm going to review, maybe not even write 2 PTs that day. And then the third thing might be, I'm going to do an essay, 3 essays. And it may never get past that, but it's like, there could be 3 more other items, but those are the 3 most important. You prioritize those as your 3 important, and that's the focus. And the 4th might be, if I get those 3 done, I want to do another 50 MBEs. But at least you got to that first 100 MBEs, reviewed those. At least you got to the PTs, the essays, whatever the list is. Because if you're not focused, you're going to be all over the place. You maybe I'm going to do 10 MBEs and then do 15 essays today. Like, is that really going to help you?
Right.
So
thanks, Brandon, for that. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this episode. Hope this is more succinct. Feel free to email us, podcasts@barexamdrills.com. Hope you have a great week, everyone.